Welcome to the Career Mastered Inside Career Success Show. I'm excited to have you today. I'm super excited. I'm Dr. Lisa Wicker, founder and CEO of Linwick and Associates and the Career Mastered magazine publisher. I am ecstatic about today's show and the beginning of something new, something great, something fabulous. This show is about high profiled women, women who are mastering their careers, women who lift others up, women who support others, women who nurture others, and women who are in the marketplace every day, compelling themselves to do the business of business. And so we're ecstatic today to begin this process. And oh, by the way, we also are featuring men who support us. Career Master Magazine is a quarterly magazine that has been in the marketplace and was launched going into our fourth year in New York, Detroit, and Charlotte. And we're ecstatic about the progress, the expansion of the brand, and the ability to advance today's global career woman. That's what we do, as well as pave the way for the next generation of girls. So, thank you for joining us today on this, our first show. And I'm going to actually claim a little bit of what I call technology learning as we go here. I'm doing both the show and the production, but hey, we all are talking about getting uncomfortable. And that's what we women do when we have things to learn and grow. And so, as long as you're uncomfortable, you're growing. And so, today I'm growing as I am producing this show. But behind the scenes, I have a great team that's helped me kind of get this up and running. And so, today we're excited to have none other than someone who is our very own, someone who has supported Career Mastered since day one. And she's been with us from being our mistress of ceremonies to just having that girl talk when you need it. And we've watched her star. We've watched her star continue to rise, and it's doing so as we speak. And so I'd like to just give you a little backgrounder, if I could, on our guest speaker and our guest star today. And she is a star. In other words, I see her as a star, as well as all of the fans that I know follow her. And so I'm just going to take a moment, if you will, to read a little bit about her background. Not that I need to do this type of introduction, but formalities are good sometimes. Courtney Hicks comes from Detroit. She's a Detroiter girl. Yes, she is. And a Spartan girl at that, let's say, because I am a Spartan. Here we are. Yes. And she's a veteran media personality, period. We don't even need to put anything else with that. But just to give you a little bit about her career and why she is our first guest here in the inaugural program, let me just tell you that she's widely popular by her fans and she's a favorite. And she's currently the news anchor for Fox 54 in Augusta. And I know she's going to tell us a little bit about how that all came about. I'd love to understand and hear the story. But her career continues to expand. She was in radio for a while. I know she absolutely had TV appearances as well as performances. We have where she made a guest appearance in the off Broadway production of The Color Purple and the Dr. Oz Show, and a principal role on the Discovery Channel series, Who's the Bleep Did I Marry? Courtney was a regular pop culture contributor for TV Fox, and today she is on Fox 54. And so I'm going to bring her on and have her tell you more about her background. But thank you for all of you who are here today with us. And again, we're just starting out. And what I'm going to do right now is bring her on from the green room and have her join us. Hi,
Good
Courtney.
morning. Good morning.
How are you, darling?
I am fantastic. I didn't know this was the inaugural show. I'm completely honored.
Absolutely. You know, that's how we rock and roll. We have to go with the folks that support us, people that are doing their
Man.
due. And I know for a fact that you have us on your heart, but we have you on our heart.
Mhm.
And I certainly
Oh,
appreciate your taking the time because I know your schedule. I know
yeah.
how busy you are. And quite honestly, I said, wow, I'm not sure if she'll be on the show this morning or
Oh,
in the
yeah.
studio. Have you already done
hmm
your work this morning? You probably did. 10
No,
hours.
I started doing the morning show, morning news, and
Yeah.
then they flipped me maybe right around election time last year. So I'm actually on from my shift is from 2:30 p.m. until about midnight.
All right. Right.
So now I get to work and my day is kind of behind me instead of it being in front of me.
Yes.
So yeah, and then we got a long day today because football season starts. So
Yes.
that
Yes.
news doesn't go on till after football. But
Oh, wow.
there was no doubt in my mind I wasn't gonna wake up and hang out with Doc Wick. Come
And
on now.
you know how that works. I love it. I love it. You know, Courtney and I have this affinity that I'm her big sis and
Yes,
that's my little sis. But you know
yes.
what? Iron sharpens iron. And at the end
Mm,
of the day, we need each other no matter where we are
yes.
in life. And
Hmm.
this is what this show is about: advancing women's today's women about in the
Hmm.
marketplace. Those women that certainly are mastering their careers and those that
Hmm.
have done so. And so I want to let you know that the concept of mastering your career really is not about having it all together.
Mm,
It really is the journey,
yes.
as well as the navigation of whether or not you're in the corporate arena or if you're in the entrepreneur arena. You could be in the nonprofit or government arena. Whatever it
Hmm.
is, we have to navigate relationships and people.
Oh yes.
And that's what this is about. And so, welcome everyone as you're coming on. I'm seeing the comments and thanking you for being
Renty.
here today. Morning, excited that you're with us. What I'm going to do is just jump right into what we're going to talk about today, because this is called the Inside Career Success Show.
Mm,
And I'm really taking a peek inside of your career. And we're letting other women and men understand some of your inspirations, your motivations, your challenges, because we all have them, your
hmm.
limits, and how you've gone around them. And I
Mm,
know for a fact, when we chatted maybe about a year or so ago, and you were making some changes within your career,
transitioning. Yep.
and that transition was phenomenal, Courtney.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, when I watched from afar, we have this affinity, as I said, this soul spirit. I
Yeah.
knew that you knew what you were doing. And
Mm,
I want you to talk about that a little bit. Here's where we're going to start right now. We're going to talk about how you did it, right? How you
yeah.
went from one part of the industry to the other, because this is
Yeah.
about women and defining what they're doing in the industry.
Hmm.
And then what I want to ask you right now, today, really is to start off by telling us about your professional journey
Yeah.
and how you did. I guess basically to me, it is what you did to start out and how you decided what you wanted to become and maybe how you changed that. So here's the question, really. Tell us
Hmm.
about your professional journey and what did you start out hoping to become
Mm,
and how that might have changed.
yeah. Oh yeah, that's a big question. Well, first again, thanks so much. I call it Doc Wick for having me. I'm truly honored. Sometimes we have a tendency to wallow in our failures and not stand and celebrate enough of our victories. So sometimes when you hear yourself back, it helps you to realize how you have withstood a lot of changes and challenges. And so I definitely appreciate you kind of giving me back to me to let me know I'm doing okay, because it
You're
doesn't feel
doing
like that
okay.
every day.
You're doing
Okay.
okay, girlfriend. You're doing
I know,
okay.
right? I wanted to be a famous singer. I studied music, classical music. One of my teachers was, if you in the church, the Kojic church was Dr. Maddie Moss Clark and some of those Clark sisters. I can't remember
Wow.
who it was back because I was Episcopalian, so I didn't know who they were back then. But hindsight, I was like, my goodness. And so my daddy was like, well, yeah, I was going to graduate from high school and go to New York and be a famous singer. He was like, yep, New York, East Lansing, Michigan State University,
Yeah.
because in our house, it wasn't if you're going to college, it was where.
Right.
And that really changed the trajectory. I was on my way to, okay, well, if I got to be a college girl, it was going to be, Spelman. I got assigned a little big sister. I went to stay the night and and then even back then, this was 89. My daddy looked at that bill like, whoa. And so there's the one significant shift there where he was like, look, unless you plan on staying down in that area, if you plan on coming back home, I would really suggest you picking a school that, would probably better help you get in the door just with conversation. We all know relationships and commonalities, start those very small networking relationships that you're going to need. And he was so perfectly right,
Yes.
because everybody in my lane was a Big Ten, Michigan State, Michigan. I mean, and it just started the conversation. So from there, saw an internship. This is back before all the
Wow.
technology, as most of y'all on this call know. So you had to go
Uh-huh.
check in with your dean and look in on the board. And I saw the internship in radio, and I really thought it was the next best, closest thing that would keep me in a close relationship with music.
Yes.
Went and learned all about it, loved it. And so I was on an AM station, got promoted to the FM station in a year. And then by the next year, I was doing what we call middays, which would be the 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. shift in Chicago. So
Wow.
I went from market back then, East Lansing or Lansing area was market 114 to 3 within like a year. So it was a huge jump. And I remember my daddy saying, "Do you think you're going too fast?" And I was like, "No." And I got a suitcase and never looked back. So that
Wow.
was really the first shift, because I was studying to be an arbitrator, mediator. So I wanted to go into sports. I have all brothers, and so that was my thing. So let's say if Michael, you got Michael Jordan here, you got the Bulls here, and I'd be in the middle helping them
Right.
figure it all out.
Wow.
So that was the first shift. I think, fast forward about 20 some odd years and sprinkle in TV throughout, those 25 plus years of radio. It was always in the back of my mind. When I was younger, in my 20s, I was much heavier.
Yeah.
And so back then we just didn't have these examples. We didn't have this body thing where people were just more free with their bodies, and any body shape was acceptable. And if you wanted to change it, it was up to you. If you wanted to say bigger, curvier, that's what's happening now. That was
Yeah.
not happening back then.
True.
And so I really, aside from maybe Oprah, who I could definitely identify with, but maybe just she was just maybe a little too unreachable, in the sense that she was already grown and established, and I couldn't understand the process. Remember, this is way before social media, so we didn't get to see people's progress and progression.
Right.
By the
Correct.
time she came along, she was just there, and I was like, wow, full figured curvy woman, love it. But you didn't really get in on the process too much until,
Exactly.
like, as that show continued, as that show kind of developed and she kind of eased out of that, then you started to hear her stories, if you will.
Hmm.
um so I knew it was TV for me. I just didn't know how, especially with the physicality of it all. So I stuck with radio. And then radio all of a sudden became visual with this technological explosion.
Yeah.
And so it was that at that point where I wanted to do it for myself and make a decision. So that was a personal shift
Right.
that affected the professional shift. So about 10 years of on-camera work, and fast forward, landed in Charlotte. And by that time, the look was together. That's where we met. It was
Right.
so funny because processing through these years, people never saw me as being as heavy as I was. So when I got to these new cities as a small girl, I'm sitting here, where my big girls at?
Yeah.
It was like, excuse us. But therein lies all kinds of different shifts at all kinds of different levels. And it took me a minute
Right.
to walk in the newness of, the physical transformation that I had decided to make. And was with a Fox affiliate in Charlotte. And I don't know how I landed with these Fox affiliates, which are very different from the Fox network. I do want to say, all
Yeah. Yeah.
individually owned. This Fox affiliate in Charlotte happened to be owned by the Fox network. So their
Wow.
filter and their perspective was a bit different. And after doing work there pro bono, because I wanted to
Hmm.
prove myself for 2 years, there was some management in there. And I sat down, and the first question that came out of her mouth, and maybe I wasn't prepared, it threw me off because I had been so indoctrinated in and became really synonymous with that brand down in Charlotte. So it really threw me off when she said, "Well, what do you want to do?"
Okay.
As I've been here for 2 years, pro bono. I've been in all. I've been newsroom. I've been in all of the production. So it threw me off, and I knew at that point that she was not going to kind of make room for me, if you will. And
Right.
I knew that I had to totally claim what it is I wanted, and I knew that I had to let go of radio in a full time capacity and just really
Wow.
faith it. By that time, my contract, I was a successful afternoon drive and management, music director, assistant program director at a station in Charlotte. And therein lies yet another significant shift where I had to let radio go so I can give my full attention to transitioning, and not just be in television, but I needed to be in a position that would create the power, if you will. And power
Yeah.
isn't such a bad thing,
Nope.
when you're anointed to be in a particular seat or particular position of leadership, when you have when you have all kind of different things working for you and you understand power, it's really an honor to be gifted with that. And so, I experienced that in radio, being a morning show host, and all that comes with that, and
Hmm.
responsibility to the community. And I knew I could function in that anchor chair. I just needed the opportunity. So I saved my little money. I thought it was going to take a year. Honey, I went home to Detroit. Our parents left us a beautiful home. We still have it, and that was my wilderness. That was my
Right.
place to be repositioned, repostured. It took 2 years. To this day, my credit cards will show all the proof, but I knew that it was coming. And that whole time, Doc Wick, I wouldn't say I was tempted, but I think my promise to myself was tested because all of these great radio opportunities kept coming
Right.
in this wilderness. Atlanta called, Miami called, Houston called, Dallas
Wow.
called, and I was about to go to Miami. I
Yeah.
mean, Atlanta. They flew me in. We talked numbers. They were about to send me a letter of intent, and the guy who was going to hire me, he had been at that company for over 25 years. He was
Right.
sending me out the letter of intent on a Wednesday. He was let go on a Monday. I was like,
Wow.
okay, God,
Oh my
you,
goodness.
I hear you. You're gonna make me stick to my promise,
Right. Right.
And I did not. I left August 2017. I did not get here until Augusta. This opportunity did not come up until July 2019. And there was so much
Wow.
frustration. There were good days, there were not so good days.
Yeah.
But it really it deepened the capacity, and it really added so much to the bandwidth, my bandwidth as far as faith is concerned. So those were some significant
Wow.
transition. And yes, Doc, it was a hard shift because
Yeah.
a lot of people couldn't see it. And I had gotten myself as far as I could with my connections, and it
Right.
just wasn't clicking. And
Right.
I found an agent. And I would say within about 2-3 months of that, we landed this situation
Wow.
here in Augusta. And it's already been 3 years. Well, I'm going to put it out there. This is, probably my last year as far as my contractual obligation, because,
Yeah.
you get what you need and you're ready to
Right.
continue to blossom and move on.
Right. Well, you know what? You said some powerful and gave us some powerful gems here, and I'm just going to list a couple of them and kind of chew on that for a moment.
Sure.
Which is you talked about capacity, you talked
Hmm.
about limits, you talked about you had to transition,
Hmm.
and through all of that, you were trying to fulfill the promises you made to yourself, right?
Yes.
And often times we make promises to ourselves that we don't keep. In fact, I teach that in the
Hmm.
master class, and then 10 years or 5 years later, we're looking back saying, wow, it
Yep.
didn't happen.
Yep.
But part of that reason that it's not happening is we're not doing the commitment and the consistency. And I watched you personally
Mm.
go into this wilderness space. Let's
Yes.
talk about
Oof.
the wilderness and the moment that we have to pause inside of this mastering the journey. What,
Hmm.
what can you share with us about pausing and why that's okay?
Well, that was really I've had a few pauses. Losing my dad. That was 27. So I don't know if the wisdom, if all the wisdom and the maturity was there for that to be a real pause, but it was definitely transitional, spiritually speaking. I
Right.
knew I had to shift in some kind of way to make. I was a daddy's girl, and he took very good care of me. I didn't even know how to write a check when that man passed. My coworker had to show me how to write a check.
Oh
And
my God.
you do the line and you do the zeros. I was like, well, what? Um, and then I would say the next shift would have been, biggest shift, yeah, would have been 20 plus years later, moving from a radio to television. And then another shift was when my mom passed, so that would have been about 6 years ago. And then this would be another significant shift here in that 20-year shift. I'm sorry, this was like my second go around in
Right.
the wilderness. Back in the bottom of '08, I was deathly ill and near death, actually. And
Wow.
what that whole experience taught me was, be careful of what you ask for, because you just might get it.
That's right.
And I was asking for transition. I wanted more. I wanted bigger, faster, stronger. And this was radio back in 2008. I didn't quite know what it looked like, but I know I wanted more. And God was like, well, okay. And he
Okay.
put me flat on my back. I had already
Wow.
moved from Chicago to Mobile, and Chicago is very high strung, very stressful. It's a huge market, and people are always, at you, and it was just go, 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 go. And some of the stress of that, I think, just spiritually settled right in my core. By the time I got down to Mobile, I was bleeding out, and
Oh
they
my
couldn't
gosh.
figure out why. And I mean, I had like 50 some odd pints of blood, which is equivalent to 9 people. I had to take an FMLA. My mommy had to move down there for a
Wow.
little while, take care of me. I couldn't have had that happen in a better place, because that's the Bible Belt, that Southern hospitality. They took so good care of me and my mom and my family. And guess what?
What?
When I got better, I still had a job.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that's important.
it was, yeah, it was just, it was really, really a divine appointment in the sense, some suffering. But Doc Wick, God had put me on my back to whereas I couldn't move, to
Uh-huh.
whereas I had to be still. It was a forced wilderness. And it was so interesting, because it was a private hospital, but I don't know if they were Catholic, but there was a cross I could see. And I'm talking about surgeries, the whole nine. And I could see the cross. I'm like, well, God, what are you doing here? I remember
Uh-huh.
going into an operating room, and I was so sick they couldn't put me all the way down. So I was very conscious of this procedure, and it was where they had to uh, take something through my groin, and instead of like going to the heart,
Yeah.
they needed to see what was going on in
Wow.
the digestive
Serious.
system. And I was hooked up so I could see when I took a breath, my lungs, I could see my heart, I could
Oh
see
my
what
goodness.
what the stomach does when you breathe and when liquid goes food. And I just heard a voice say, and it was I'm taking, you'll be fine. You're not gonna die. I'm taking you through this because I want you to understand what it truly feels like to totally have to depend on me. I could not eat, I could not brush my teeth, I couldn't go to the bathroom. And as I transform your body, I
Yeah.
want you to always have an appreciation for it. And that's why I'm letting you stay conscious and see all these cameras hooked up on you, so you can
Whoa.
see what this body does every time you take a breath, and never forget that. And
Wow.
so fast forward to this particular wilderness. um Even though it was never comfortable, and it's not supposed to be comfortable, but I had been that place before. The
Right.
difference is I could walk, I could talk, I could,
Amen.
go to a part-time radio
Yes.
job on the weekend. I
Yes.
didn't have to be flat on my back,
Right.
for God to get my attention. I knew how to, immediately stand at attention, if you will,
Yes. Yes.
and also flow in and out of being a participant and an observant, because sometimes you
Right.
got to pull up on that thing and just
Yes.
be an observer, because it'll
Uh-huh.
overwhelm you sometimes, what it is, you have to kind of stand there and endure.
I
So the
love it.
wilderness was about being repositioned. The wilderness was also about healing. I hadn't sat down after my mom passed. That was my last parent. That was the
Wow.
last thing that grounds you and anchors you
Right.
in this life. And there's no husband yet. I think that's the
Yeah.
closest thing
Yeah.
that grounds you to your
It's all
parents
coming.
is a
It's all
relationship.
coming. I'm just
Right.
saying.
Right. No, let go all of the knuckleheads and start line up. It was just
Yeah.
really me and my God and my angels
Yes.
and my spiritual network, and pushing through that thing. And it was tough, but it was
Yeah.
necessary.
I
And I
love it.
knew it was time to come out, because everything just happened like that. And people say, it was just so, and I can just say, I really did have that serendipitous, if you will, experience where
Mhm.
it just happened when it was supposed to happen. There were times when I tried to push and pull and force,
Right. Right. Right.
and I'd land right there on my butt. Like, no, this is not this. No, you gonna listen. You gonna
Right.
get this lesson today. You gonna learn.
Exactly.
You gonna learn
Exactly.
today. But when you just release, when you stop trying to control it,
Mhm.
when
Mhm.
if it's about faith for you, and being a believer, you have to dig into that, even on the days when it just seems hopeless. You have to. That's the test, really. It's
Yeah.
not about where you're trying to get to. It's about, like you said at the top of the conversation, managing and navigating how are you going to move through this experience, because experience
Exactly.
is very necessary. God talks about
Exactly.
suffrage and how important that is to the
Right.
journey and building
Right.
character, and how he'll make beauty for your ashes, and there was plenty of ashes for him to make beautiful.
Well, it's beautiful. It's definitely beautiful. And as we continue to watch you grow, and like you say, going from one industry to the other, I mean, it's there are some lessons there for others that are listening that it can be done.
Hmm.
You mentioned about, pausing. You mentioned about making sure that we're not trying to control everything. Sometimes we just have to be still. You get
Yes,
uncomfortable. But
yes.
let's talk about the concept that I really think is near and dear to being successful. And by the way, we'll talk about that if we get a moment here. But success is defined different for everybody. But
Hmm.
one of the keys I believe that's important to it is knowing yourself and being true
Mm,
to yourself. Let me hear your perspective on truth and authenticity. And I know we overuse that, but let's talk about being just true
mm,
to yourself and what that
mm.
does for your career.
Yeah. I want, if I can, not necessarily be braggadocious, but I really feel as though I'm a different type of an anchor. I was not clothed in anchor from day one, where a lot of my colleagues went to journalism school. They call it J school, and they were
Yeah.
really outfitted with this. I am an anchor. Well,
Yeah.
that ain't me. I
Yeah.
come from radio, where we can be very expressive. We can talk about how we feel. We can say, Rihanna is a billionaire, and I can say, well, damn, how the hell she do that, and talk about all about on the air.
Snap,
This
snap. Yeah.
anchor thing, right? It's very
Uh-huh.
Rihanna, is
Uh-huh.
a billionaire, and and I just did that story last night, and I was thinking to myself, man, if I was on the radio, man, we'd be talking
Yeah.
about this thing, especially with her humble beginnings.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
half West Indian, so I get it.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, so, and I didn't want to lose that coming into the anchor chair. I just, that's a part of my uniqueness in my
Yes.
approach, my likability, my relatability. People
Right.
want to first of all, they can get their news and information from anywhere. So what makes
True.
it so special about getting it from my particular affiliate? But I think it's because people are gonna, if they choose you, they want their information from somebody they feel like they could sit down at the breakfast table with, or the dinner
Right.
table with, or riding in the car, shotgun with. And I feel like I've always had that, again, relatability, and I always knew that was something I was going to carry over to this anchor chair, because I don't know to be anything but me. Have I had to kind of tone it and tame it just a bit? Yes, just a bit.
Right.
But this newness and being real and keeping it real, as cliche as it sounds, trying to find some positive in the pandemic, it was actually right up my alley, in the sense that people had more time to focus in on you,
Right.
and they were relying on you and depending on you for this information.
Uh-huh.
And we got into arenas such as this, the whole Zooms and meetings and things like that. And a lot of my colleagues, that was a hard shift for them, because they're so used to, the studio, and that you look
Mhm.
like this, and they
Mhm.
would I just woke up not too long ago. I said, let me
Yeah.
push this hair back. And
No,
now I'm not about to
and
do
you
no
look
lashes, no
always
makeup.
wonderful.
Thank
No, I
you. No
love it because
lashes,
it's
no.
just clear,
Yeah.
pure.
And it brought out some realness and some rawness that I think a lot of my colleagues had to really learn how to tap into, which I
Yes.
had already had. Just the nature of who Courtney is. So I really do believe that will be my strength. I moved. I have I know my place is morning news, because that's just the personality,
Yeah.
but they moved me to night, which is a little bit more heavier and serious. But I have found ways to interject who I am and what I'm all about in my personality, whether it's just be a quick, funny ad lib or whatever. And I really do believe that it has helped season, if you will, or help bring some color and some livelihood to the two guys that I anchor with, who
That's right. That's right.
have been around for a while, and and just are two guys. And it helps bring them out a little bit more. So I say that to say, know your strength and know what you bring to the table. And I don't care whether I get any feedback from my news director or my GM. I know what I have brought to that evening show,
Right. Right.
as far as a balance between virus, 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 violence, violence, violence. This is what happened. This is what happened. And something light and funny and that will help,
Wonderful.
round out your evening, you know.
Yes.
And so I think the takeaway from that is know your straight and really, really press into that and use that as your lead,
Yes.
because that's the uniqueness of you and that is your power. So I think that's what really, sets me aside. That's my strength. That's what I used. And will I continue to allow that to evolve? Yeah, so it
Mhm.
can work in harmony with what this and anchor thing is all about.
Right. Right.
Absolutely. I think my only rub is in TV they like to own your likeness, and I have a problem with owning
Yeah,
my
no,
likeness.
that's what, but that's still being true to yourself. So
Yeah.
you have to own that and make sure.
Mhm.
Now, I know we are going to end here for it's the show, but one thing I want to ask you before
Mhm.
we end is oftentimes when I look at the studies and the research on women, and our goal really is to advance women and to make a way for the next generation of girls. Why is it important to ask for what you want?
Oh, because closed mouths don't get fed. I say
Oh,
that
there
all
we
the time. Closed mouths don't get fed.
go. Let's go.
And it is really a testament to your to how you see your self-worth, because everything is filtered through your self-worth. And I don't care if it's personal with a man. I don't care if it's a professional thing, whatever the case may be. You have to learn how to not assign your self-worth to other people's values and opinions and
Yes.
experiences. This is all about you and who you are, who relative to who you're becoming, who you've been, and who you want to be and where you want to go.
Right.
So yeah, and that's still a challenge for us in particular,
Yes.
women, and being even more particular, Black women. I just read an article where Black women work 539 more hours and get paid much less than anybody.
Yes.
And
Yes.
we out here saving the universe.
Yes.
So that goes right back to knowing and operating in our self-worth and asking for what you want. Now have the credentials,
Yes.
be in alignment, have
Yes.
the experience, be articulate,
Right.
but go in that thing and
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 ask for
and
what you want. I
you
love it. That's what
better.
we're going to leave everybody with. Be sure to ask for what you want, but make sure you have your homework done
Yes.
and everything that lines up with being able to have that ask, right? So
Hmm.
that those
Hmm.
big doors will open. Courtney, we have enjoyed you today.
Oh,
As
thank
always,
you.
little sis, I am so proud of you. As
Thank
if,
you.
I lifted you up, but I certainly know that didn't happen. But hey, Spartans think alike,
Come on
girlfriends think
now.
alike. And also, the bottom line is love on someone today
That's right.
and be
That's right.
kind. And that's the
That's
whole
right.
idea. And we will
Yeah.
advance together. We won't need such thing as what was it yesterday? They were celebrating, I think, Black women's equal pay day. Why do we need that?
Hmm.
I can get into a whole nother ball game on that.
Hmm.
But at the end of the
Hmm.
day, some of those things will not be necessary if we do the right thing and make sure that we are in leadership roles
That's right.
and we
That's
are
right.
in a place that
Yeah.
we can make decisions to
Hmm.
advance. And we will
Yeah.
not be talking about equal pay. We will be
Yeah.
talking about who's next, right? And
Yeah.
including
Yeah.
all of those. And so
Yeah.
before we leave, I'd just like to talk about for a moment. The show is aired weekdays at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And it is about looking and taking a peek inside of successful women's journeys. And Courtney, you
Hmm.
certainly modeled that, as well as
Thank
those
you.
women that help others, because we look at paving the way and bringing back,
Hmm.
bringing forth the next generation. To say this before I go, I think it was Congresswoman Alma Adams that said, "You
Mm.
can't stand in your own sunshine."
Mm.
And I believe that as long as you're trying to show up and not thinking about everybody else, you are trying to stand in your own sunshine. It just doesn't work.
Hmm.
So let
Mm.
go and let God and be able to open up the atmosphere for others to win. And that's
That's
what you
it.
do. Thank you, my
Oh,
dear. And
thank
we'll see you
you.
next time. And I will see you on the next go round.
Yes, I love you.
Love you. Bye bye. So, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us today for the first of many episodes of Career Mastered Inside Career Success. the show that offers you high profile women, high achieving women who can share with us their navigation and mastering of their careers, as well as we look forward to talk to men allies that have supported, who support, and who help women win. One of the things that I plan to do, and I'm going to start today, is sharing with you one book that we read, or I read, and then hopefully my team. By the way, I want to give a shout out to the editorial staff of Career Mastered magazine. They rock it every quarter. Congratulations on all the work you do to help advance women around the world. You can pick up Career Mastered magazine on Amazon.com, as well as a number of other locations that have retail services. But quickly take a moment to check us out at www.careermastered.com. We annually honor women around the nation through the Women's History Month program, as well as provide scholarships through Excel Village. So check us out next Thursday. We'll be announcing who our guests will be. And in the meantime, pick up the Career Mastered magazine. I'm learning right now how to do all that, but there's a copy of the summer cover, and the fall cover will be out in September. In the meantime, make it a great day, and we'll see you on the next go round. Bye now.